Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us for our NSF, Small Business Innovation Research and Small Business Technology Transfer Federal R&D Funding Program Introduction. We're glad you could join us today. We have a number of speakers who will be chatting for a few minutes this afternoon. I'm John Ujvari. I'm with the Small Business and Technology Development Center here in North Carolina. I am part of our Technology Development and Commercialization team, and we are here to work with companies who are developing innovative technologies, assisting them with strategies about how to fund their research and development activities, and then continuing to work with you through the process of commercialization of those technologies over the long term. So our organization is part of the University of North Carolina system, who my colleague and director, Nicole Schwerbrock, will be talking a little bit more about organizationally. But in a nutshell, our team is here to assist you, again, from kind of the very early stages of company inception, and again, walking you through kind of the food chain of what funding opportunities might be available to you, whether it be non-dilutive capital through the SBIR, STTR mechanisms, or other grant contract mechanisms. And then also our team has a very strong interest in working with companies who are looking for dilutive capital through angel and VC funding mechanisms. So all of our services are no charge. We're here as an economic development organization to help you grow and succeed. So your success as a business is our success at the end of the day. I'll turn it over to the director of our tech commercialization team, Nicole, to talk a little bit about our organization as a whole.
Great. Thank you, John. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Glad to be here in North Carolina, Durham. As John mentioned, we are part of the SBTDC of North Carolina. There are about 63 SBTDCs or SBDCs on a federal level, and our center has about 15 offices that are all co-localized within the university system. And so we provide assistance to all 100 counties of North Carolina. Most of our assistance that we provide goes to small to mid-sized businesses. Yet within our organization, we have very specialized teams, such as ours, which is technology commercialization, but we also have teams that assist with business development for exporting. So our international business development team that focus really on clients that want to export. Then we also have a team that specializes on contracting with the government, a sort of a procurement office, so we can also assist with that. And then we have one team that focus on very early stage businesses, just clients that want to launch the business. With about 100 professionals, we have also a lot of assistance in general businesses. So all in all, we try to cover everything from inception to really family-owned businesses, manufacturing. And as John mentioned, I'm the director for technology commercialization and development. And we are actually really happy today to also partner with one other SBTDC. In this case, it's an SBDC in California, Northern California. Here with us is David Walker and Paul Bozzo. And David Walker used to be within our team here in North Carolina, but he went to the sunny side of the country, and I understand that. So with that, David, maybe would you like to just speak a few words about your center, your region?
Well, I'll tell you what, why don't I leave that to Paul Bozzo and let him introduce the Tech Futures Group. You did a terrific job, Nicole, and I don't want to follow that. So Paul, go right ahead.
All right, Paul, we'll go ahead and make you the presenter right now so you can share your slides.
Fantastic. Thank you. All right, perfect. So let me share my screen. Okay.
Yep, we can see your screen.
Okay, perfect. Good morning or good afternoon. I'm out on the West Coast, so it's morning here. So my name is Paul Bozzo, and I represent the Tech Futures Group. And just a little bit about Tech Futures Group is we are part of the Northern California Small Business Development region. And our main focus is really helping entrepreneurs grow and bring innovations to market. So Tech Futures Group is a set of specialty advisors that have deep technology experience and industry experience in a variety of sectors. A lot of the things that we work with on a day-to-day basis with our companies is access to capital, government innovation funding, perfect theme for today, intellectual property, startup strategy, branding, projections in manufacturing, and more. We are industry agnostic, so our advisors work with everything from AI, SaaS, IoT, medtech, blockchain, edtech, green tech. Pretty much if it has tech in it, we're going to have an advisor that has some expertise with that. We've got a set of advisors. We use a lead advisor and specialty advisor strategy. So our lead advisors are tech generalists, a lot of experience across the board, biotech, medtech, marketing and branding, angel venture capital funding. We also have some wonderful specialty advisors that help with our SBIR programs, doing detailed financial projections for use with venture capital, also manufacturing experts and IP experts. We do a variety of things with our clients, startup strategy, IP, a lot of pitch decks, production planning all the way from prototype to large scale, lots of work with dilutive capital, angel VC crowdfunding, marketing strategies, a lot of enterprise level business development, as I mentioned, projections for investors, and also SBIR, STTR. So that's Tech Futures Group. We're thrilled to be collaborating with today's presentation, and I'm looking forward to it. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Paul. And to our attendees, everybody is muted, of course. There is a toolbar on the right side of your screen whereby you can submit questions. We'll be monitoring those questions, and at the end of our NSF presentation, we will I'll be voicing those questions, and Dr. Nair can answer those questions. So as we're going through the presentation, feel free to type your questions in, and we'll do our best to get those answered at the end of the presentation. David, if you would like to do a brief intro of yourself, perhaps, and then Dr. Nair, that would be terrific.
Sure. I'm David Walker. I'm the Center Director at the Shasta-Cascade SBDC in Northern California. And you've heard about the terrific program in North Carolina. You've heard about the terrific program in Northern California, but you know there's an SBDC near you as well, no matter where you're at in the United States. There's nearly 1,000 centers, and there's one near you. If you have any questions or any issues about pretty much anything related to your business, you can get no-cost advice from a business expert near you. So I encourage you to Google SBDC, Google wherever it is you're at, and you'll find the office near you. And I think the best thing to do at this time would be to introduce Dr. Nair, because I think the commercial should be over by now, right, John?
That's right.
Okay, so while you're doing that, why don't I talk a little bit about our guest presenter here, Dr. Nair. Murali Nair has been with the SBIR, STTR as a program director since January 2003, when I was 6. Prior to joining the NSF, he was the founder and CEO of a Bluetooth wireless product company. He was also a senior systems engineer at L3 Communications, a mission planner at Motorola, and in a previous life, a faculty member at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. Dr. Nair is a recipient of a number of awards, including the NSF's second highest award for meritorious service and the President's Innovation Award for Space Systems Design Courses while he was at Embry-Riddle. So we are very, very fortunate to have him. And at this time, we'll turn it over to Dr. Nair.
All right. Thank you, David. I don't know if most of what you said is true, but thank you anyway. All right, let me, I should show my screen now, right, John?
Yes.
Okay, let me see. Are you seeing my screen at all?
We are. Great.
Okay, I'm not seeing it. Okay, so you see the first slide of the
Yes.
slide,
It's
everybody?
showing up.
Yes,
All
looks
right.
good.
Okay, all right. Thank you, everybody, for inviting me to make a presentation today about the National Science Foundation in general, a little bit about NSF, and then most of it would be on the NSF SBIR STTR program. So I have about 30 slides or so, and then like John said, if you have any questions, please type it in for him, and then I'll try and answer those questions at the end of the presentation. Is that how it is, that that I finish the presentation and then take on the questions, John?
That is correct.
Yeah, okay. All right, so let me go through a little bit about NSF, and what I'm going to talk today about is, like I said, a little about the foundation itself, and then where the program, the SBIR STTR program, how it is a part of the foundation. So then I go into the actual program, the NSF SBIR STTR program. We know, we feel, we don't know how true that is, but we feel that it is a unique among the 11 SBIR STTR programs spread out across various federal agencies, that there is something unique about this particular program. I'll go into some detail about it in a little while. And then the kinds of technology areas that we fund, what are the criteria for funding, and then a little bit about the mechanics of how you actually submit proposals to the program, and then what really happens once you submit your proposal, how is it reviewed, and what are they looking for in terms of whether to fund or not fund. So that's the agenda for today. For those of you who may not be very familiar with the National Science Foundation, it's a relatively small federal agency, but it's been around for 70 years now. It was created by an act of Congress in 1950. And I say it's relatively small because the budget compared to some other federal agencies is relatively small at $8.5 billion. Just to give you an idea why I say it is small, you could take the example of, say, let's say NIH, which is the National Institutes of Health. Its budget is about 6 times the size of NSF. So because of the law, the SBIR STTR program is a percentage of the research budget of various federal agencies. So obviously, the SBIR STTR program for NIH would be like 5 or 6 times the size of what we have. So again, it is across agencies, it is a percentage, a fixed percentage. That's again by law. And mostly NSF focuses on research. Most of NSF is or involves research funding of US universities all across America, and involves all sciences that you can think of and engineering. And speaking of which, you can see the structure of the foundation. There are 7 directorates. one of which is the engineering directorate. Its budget, engineering directorate budget, is about $1 billion right now. And so within the engineering directorate is our division. There are 5 divisions in the engineering directorate. The other 4, they're, like I said, they're focused on research funding, whereas the industrial innovation and partnerships, one of the divisions that you see on the far right, is the home of various programs. I know this is kind of a busy slide, but it's just for completeness that I put this up, just to show you that we have a number of programs within the division now, Division of Industrial Innovation and Partnerships. And the ones on the left, it's in blue, we call the academic cluster. They have a budget of about 75 million or so right now. Why is this a part of our division? Is because these are programs somehow connected to the market at some point down the road. But the funding, the 75 million, goes to universities, from us to universities who are working on research they think, the researcher thinks that could have some market potential. So that's the reason why it's part of our division. And some of these programs have been around for a long time. Some are relatively new. For example, I-Core started at NSF about, I don't know, maybe 8 years now. And as it usually happens, programs start at NSF on the commercialization side of things. They start at NSF and then they gravitate and slowly spread out among various other agencies. So, for example, I said the I-Core started here about 8 years ago. Now it's already being implemented in NIH and DOE, and DOD is also thinking about it, and so on. Even the SBIR program itself, maybe you may not know about this, but SBIR itself started at NSF in 1980. So we've been doing this for a little more than 40 years. So SBIR itself, the pilot program, was started at NSF in 1978-79, and then it became law. President Reagan was the one who signed it into law in 1980. So again, it started at NSF and then spread out among all 11 agencies that currently have the SBIR program. The STTR is not across all agencies. Only 4 or 5 of them have both the SBIR and STTR. All right, so speaking of the SBIR STTR program, we have 11 program directors right now, and each takes care of a particular piece of technology. So you can see that, for example, myself, I've been taking care of robotics and wireless technologies for quite a while. And then IoT, the Internet of Things, and space technologies I've started to handle only recently, just about a year or so. So anyway, so you can see from the various technologies in these boxes here, we cover quite a bit of ground, anywhere from manufacturing to pharmaceutical technologies. So this SBIR STTR program is right now the annual budget is about $220 million. The NSF SBIR STTR program. So let me tell you a little bit about what it is that we do, what is the size, and the number of companies that we fund. Roughly over the years, at least over the last 5 years, I would say, the average has been about 400 companies each year. So that's a mix of both phase 1 and phase 2. We'll come to that in a little while, what that means. But generally about 400 companies are funded by the program every year. And like I mentioned, the budget, the annual budget right now is about 221 to be exact, $1 million. So of course it keeps increasing every year because, like I said, it's a percentage of the research budget of NSF. And so that budget, NSF's budget, thankfully keeps increasing every year. Now, of course, I don't know, some of you may be aware that there's a serious move to kind of increase it much more than normal. And now it's not yet law, but people are talking about this year's, the next financial year's budget to be a 20% increase for NSF, which hasn't happened in a long time. So if that happens, obviously the NSF SBIR STTR program might become very easily more than 250, 260 million. So that means more money, more companies to fund. So what is it that we're trying to do here through this program? As you might have seen this kind of slide before, that it is the research side of it. Of course, the NSF funds quite a bit of research. It's mostly on the discovery side. And then on the right-hand side is going to market and commercializing some of these discoveries and some of the research that's done through NSF funding. So that's what this sort of inverted U line indicates. Whereas the other is the actual dollars of investment going into commercialization. So you're all familiar with the value of death, and it's the SBIR program, the SBIR STTR program, that tries to help companies get over that, get across that valley through these various funding mechanisms, the phase 1, the phase 2, and various supplements. You cannot get a supplement unless you have a phase 2 with NSF. So supplements are additional funds for phase 2 grantee companies. So all that, I don't know if I have the numbers, let me see. No, okay. So all that, phase 1, phase 2, plus supplements, they can add up to non-dilutive, no change in equity for the company. So they're grants, they're all grants, NSF, SBIR, STTR program, they're all grants. That's one of the unique aspects of this program, is that they're all grants, because other agencies, they could have a combination of grants and contracts, and some others, they have only contracts. We're talking of SBIR STTR program now. But at NSF, they're all grants. Let me see. So what makes you eligible for these grants? So you have to be set up in the US as a for-profit entity. So that's you have to have that designation that you set up for profit. And small business means less than 500 or less employees. I mean, 500 is a pretty large company, and I'll show you some numbers later on to show the makeup of most of our companies are nowhere near 500. Anyway, they have to be located in the US, and they have to be controlled and owned also by US citizens, at least 51%. So that's the criteria, eligibility criteria. So if you satisfy those, then you're welcome to go through the process of submitting a proposal to NSF, SBIR, STTR proposal. This picture just quickly captures the size of the grants. The phase one, you have to have a phase one to get into the program. There is no direct to phase two with this program. There are other agencies that allow direct to phase two, but we don't. We have to start with a phase one, and then that's between 6 to 12 months. It's up to you, the company, and it's about a little more than $250,000. So that's the phase two. You have to have a phase one. Sorry, that's a phase one. And you have to have a phase one to go to submit a phase two proposal. So if you do that, then meaning if you get the phase two, it's quite a bit of money. It's $1 million over a period of anywhere from 12 to 24 months. Usually, most of them are between 18 and 24 months. So that's phase two. And then you might wonder what the chances of getting phase one are. Historically, it's been so far, on average, about 1 in 8. So phase one, the chances of success are about, on average, 1 in 8. Sometimes it has gone down to 1 in 10, but right now, in the last, at least last 3 years or so, it has been 1 in 8. But once you have the phase one, I think your chances become that much better, because phase two, the odds are much better, meaning that if you have a phase one, apply for a phase two, chances are like 1 in 3 to get a phase two. Sometimes I've seen in some years we've gone to 1 in 2. So the key is to get in the door with a phase one, and then chances are pretty good that you might be able to get the phase two. And then there are, of course, supplements that I talked about. So those, the biggest one is the phase 2B, which is a matching supplement. So you'd have to bring some money to the table. If you bring $1 million or more, then you will, we will, if everything works out and all the documentation is proper, then you can get a 1 to 2 match, which is for $1 million, you get another $500,000. So all this can add up. The phase one, phase two, and a bunch of supplements. There are a whole bunch of supplements. It's not the only one. Phase 2B is the biggest one. But if you play it right, you're looking at about $2 million equity free. So that's kind of a big deal for a startup or a little company. So so that's the model, the innovation model that we've been following for quite some time now. Some statistics, just so you might have a better feel for what goes on in the program. You can see that they're usually very small companies. It says 10 or fewer, but mostly it's like 2 or 3, sometimes even 1 person. Most of them are less than 10. 9 out of 10 companies are 3 to 5 people, or even 1 to 3 people. Historically, the unique aspect of the companies we fund are that most of them, again, 9 out of 10, they've never had any SBIR Phase 2 award from any agency when they get funded by NSF. It's not to say that you should not apply to NSF because you've had some funding from another agency. That's not what it is. It's just simply statistics that we've gathered over the years. I think these numbers are for at least 20 years. And then they're mostly young companies. 4 out of 5, they just incorporated in the last 5 years, sometimes in the last 6 months, oftentimes in the last 6 months to a year. So those are some statistics of the kinds of companies we've been funding. Also remember that, I think it's good to remember that NSF itself doesn't buy anything from the companies that we fund. You might wonder why even bring that up, because there are other SBIR programs. Most other agencies, they actually buy things from the little company. So that's why they're not grants, they're contracts, because those agencies, they're looking for something and they want the small company to deliver that. So they are customers. Many of them turn out to be customers because they give contracts, and sometimes very large contracts. But they do most of them have this phase 1, phase 2 process. Like I mentioned, some allow a straight to phase 2 kind of deal, but we don't. You have to have a phase 1 with NSF before you can get a phase 2 from NSF. The one other thing is that you might want to keep in mind that if you have a phase 1 from NSF, some other agencies allow you to go for a phase 2 to their agency. So you have a phase 1 from NSF, of course you can go for a phase 2 at NSF, and in addition, go to other agencies for a phase 2. So I hope you got that. The other way, it doesn't work, meaning we don't accept a phase 1 from other agencies to come directly to us for a phase 2. So keep that in mind. Sometimes it helps to know that. Again, because of the nature of NSF, we're not driving any particular company to come up with a piece of technology. We don't do that. It is you who decide what you want to do, and then come to us for funding and pursue what it is that you want to pursue. So again, because it's a very broad spectrum of technologies that we fund. Historically, for decades, we've been doing that. Again, we don't claim any IP. It says we have royalty-free rights, but we've never exercised it in the last 40 years. At least that I don't recall, or I don't know that we've ever exercised that. So it basically belongs to the company. The IP that you generate, that you create, is yours. All we want to do is to focus our grantee companies to go to market. That you must go to the market so that, we've set up a whole ecosystem around our grantee company, and you will find that out if you get funding from us, that ecosystem of potential partners, investors, and so on. So we and then we train you. I mean, you can go through the ICO program. There's boot camps and beat the odds boot camps and all kinds of stuff that we surround our companies with in order to increase the chances of success. I'm still going on with the unique features of this program. Like I mentioned already, that we're technology agnostic. It doesn't matter what the technology is about. What is most important is, again, we don't put you in a box or try to put you in a box. What's more important is the market. The market is the driver, and the technical requirements of that particular market segment. So you do the market analysis, and you figure out where the pain point is, and then you come up with a possible solution. Keep in mind that even though you could get a couple of $1 million out of the program, that you would still need more money than that. Sometimes I have a lot of companies that kind of become successful with just the phase 1, phase 2, and supplements combination. But most of the time, you need much more money than what we provide. So, and we got examples, hundreds of examples of our companies raising tens of millions of dollars, even while they're in the phase 2 program. So, yeah, so I guess these are some numbers that kind of reinforce what I just said. So you can see for the last 8 or 9 years, 8 years, I'd say, we've given out about 3,500 awards to small companies. And then you can see that they do well, because you can see the number that this is at the bottom. You see that it's based on public data only, right? I mean, it's actually much more than what the numbers that you see here, because many companies don't tell us what they're up to once they've kind of graduated from the program. But public data says that over the last these numbers, the 9.1 billion and the 153, they are for the period 2015 to 2020. So that's about 5 years. So they've raised or exits and equity raise. It's about almost 10 billion over the last 5 years. And then we've had more than 150 exits of our companies. So just to give you a flavor for the outcomes of the program over the years. So we've been tracking all our companies for the last, I'd say about 15 years at least, seriously tracking. I mean, diligently and seriously tracking every phase 2 grantee company that has had funding from NSF. So that's how we know these kinds of numbers. So that tells you that the focus is really the private market and the private equity and the actual commercial market, not contracts or anything, any such vehicles. That's not the focus of the program. Just a quick, I'm not going to read through all of these, but you can see that whatever you can think of in technology, it'll be in one of these categories. So, like I mentioned, I don't know if I see what I do. Yeah, the robotics, wireless, the way bottom is what I take care of in the program. And there are others like me who are focused on each of these pieces of technology. So technology, whatever you work on, that shouldn't kind of inhibit you from saying, hey, maybe NSF doesn't care about this or that. It does. What matters is the innovation and the market pull. All right, so what is it that we find? Yeah, you got to keep this in mind, because otherwise you'll be simply wasting your time. Because proposals, they take long to write, a lot of effort. So you need to keep these points in mind, that it's got to be that it's never been done anywhere in the world. Anywhere in the world, okay, not just in America. So it should be kind of very innovative and possible to kind of generate some IP out of it that belongs to you, belongs to the company. Obviously, that means there's a very high technical risk, and that's what we're looking for. And it could be a product, a process, a service, that's okay. But there's got to be technical risk. And then also, we like to be finding, or we like to find things that are game-changing, right? Something new, something never done before, anywhere, like I said, anywhere in the world. And then the validation, of course, is not coming from you or from us. It comes from the market, right? From actual customers and partners willing to either put in more money or buy your product. So all that must show. I mean, you don't have to kind of in detail show all this in phase 1, but definitely in phase 2. So phase 1, you should focus on the technical risks for the most part, but that doesn't mean that you have no clue why you're doing this or where is it going. You got to know some of that too. It cannot be just basic research, is what I'm saying. Yeah, here it is. What we do not fund. We do not fund basic research, because that is the rest of NSF that does that. So this particular program within NSF does not fund basic research, incremental things, right? Whether it be the product feature or service or process. So incremental improvement is not something we're looking for. Also, if the chance of a commercial success is not clear, or is not, it may not be clear, but at least there must be a hint of it pre-phase 1 and phase 1. We also, if you might say, well, it says NSF funding cannot make a big impact. Yeah, we try to move the needle for the company. If you think NSF funding can move the needle somehow, meaning a big impact, then chances are that much higher of getting funding. And obviously, any studies of any kind, market studies, all that we do not fund. Okay, and now to the nitty-gritty here of actual proposals and submitting them. All of it starts now. We've been doing this pitch, project pitch. It's required. So before, like 3 years ago, or even less, we did not have this process. You could just simply write up a proposal and submit it, phase 1 proposal and submit it. But now you got to go through another gate, which is this project pitch. So it is required. And it's a quick feel from both sides, from our side and your side, whether what it is that you have in mind makes sense, or makes sense for the program, or what it is that we are trying to do, or not. So you get a quick answer. I mean, it's not that quick, but it's quicker than waiting for a result of your phase 1 proposal. So this takes about 3 weeks, sometimes much faster than that, depending on the load or the number of pitches coming in a particular segment of time. So, but maximum is 3 weeks. You'll get an answer saying, well, this is appropriate. Go ahead and submit, prepare and submit a proposal. Or we'll tell you that, no, this is not something we're looking for. In terms of risk, mostly about risk and market, right? Where is it that this is going? And what prevents it from going right now, which is the risk. So the risk and the market is what you actually try to pitch. And obviously the team is important and who's behind it and so on. But the essence is the technology and the technical risks associated with that technology. So you can submit a proposal only if the pitch is approved. I will tell you, I mean, you submit a pitch and within 3 weeks or less, we'll tell you, okay, go ahead. Go ahead and prepare and submit a proposal. So you have to be invited. All right, so these, and also make sure that you register, you know, all that paperwork has all been done beforehand. It's better, all done beforehand. And the solicitation is important to read before you come, or as you're writing the proposal, you keep reading that and what it is that will be calling for. But not any specific technologies, okay? It's just simply the format and how to kind of write up the proposal, what is required and what's not. Those are the kinds of things you'll find in the solicitation. And we have now, before we used to take in proposals once in 6 months before, but now I think in the last 1 or 2 years, we are doing this open windows, 4 of them, over a 12-month period. So currently there's a window open which closes at on June 3rd. So then if you miss that window, you can submit the next window. But keep in mind, you know, sometimes a lot of people ask us, okay, if I submit on March 6th, will I get the answer in 2-3 months? The answer is no, because we wait till the window closes, because we don't have, if you don't have enough proposals, remember that everything we do is through panels. All the reviews is not an individual program director or individual person deciding. They're going through panels. Each and every proposal goes through a panel, right? It's different for different agencies. But NSF is somehow a die-hard believer in panels. So a panel of experts, they look at your proposal and decide or recommend. They don't decide. They recommend to NSF whether to fund or not, right? So we wait till the window closes to have enough proposals to make a panel. Like you might ask, okay, in say robotics, how much time, I mean, does this 3-month window enough to get a sufficient number of proposals? Yeah, the answer is yes, because in that window, I'll get about, let's say, between 40 to 50 or 40 to 60 proposals in robotics, right? Then we probably fine-tune the process even more, but right now, because we're kind of new at it, this window business, so we'll fine-tune it, that we'll find ways of quicker response, but it'll take time for us to understand the process and so on. We'll see, but right now, this is what it is. We got four windows in a year. So what is the pitch? What's the pitch about? So it's just short, you know, it can be 1 to 3 pages at the most, not more than that. Usually 2 is a good number, 2 pages. 500 words about the innovation another 500 on what you need to do to reduce the technical risk. So that's 1,000 words. And then another 250 words each on who's going to care, who's going to buy it, or what are the pain points that you found in the market that the solution doesn't exist right now, and you're going to provide it. 250 words. And then about the team. So about 1,500 words, a couple of pages will do. So that's the pitch. So you have to submit this before you can do anything. Of course, before you can submit the pitch, I think you should also register the company and get through all the paperwork and registrations and so on. That's the way to go. Okay, keep in mind that the funds that NSF provides through this SBIR STTR program is meant for R&D, right? It's, all the money has to go to research and development. So you cannot use it for any other purpose. You cannot use it for business development and IP and filing patents and so on. Cannot. I'm just reading through this to see if I missed anything. Yeah, I think it's, I don't know if you'd be able to have a copy of the slide deck, but there's nothing proprietary about it. Okay, and then these obvious aspects of why a proposal doesn't cut it is because it's just a little tweak, some evolutionary development, or it's pretty straightforward engineering, no technical risk, or it's testing or evaluation. All that those are not what we're looking for. Of course, basic research, that's the other side of NSF. And then, like I mentioned, the business development, market research, so sales and marketing, patent costs, all that is really not something that we're looking for in phase 1. We look for all this in phase 2, but not in phase 1. I mean, you can talk about it, but not spend time and money, phase 1 funding on these things. All right, so that's a little bit about what we fund, what we don't fund, what are we looking for, and so on. So, okay, these proposals come in, they become a part of a panel. So what is the panel looking for? So the panel for phase 1, usually there are between, in my panels and most others too, between 10 and 15 proposals that are considered for the day. So it's mostly a whole day affair. Panel meets for a whole day. And then there'll be about, phase 1, there'll be about between 5 to 8 reviewers. And they're all experts in some aspect of the technology or the market or both, right? So they're looking at intellectual merit. I mean, what is so new? What's so wonderful about this? So that's what they're looking for. I mean, you got to convince them that this is new. I mean, this has never been done. You know, you can give them the latest research papers and so on as part of your proposal and say this hasn't been done, and we're going to do it, right? So that's what this intellectual merit is looking for. Obviously, it's looking for, you know, whether the team can pull this off. Do they have the right background and knowledge, expertise? So all that. So intellectual merit is really on the technical side, technical risk side, and whether you can pull it off in terms of people and facilities or access to facilities. So that's the big criteria for NSF review criteria. And then, of course, because it's SBIR, right? This is not basic research. So we'll look in, there will be most every panel, even in phase 1. Phase 2, definitely, because half the panel for phase 2 proposals would be commercial reviewers. The other half will be technical. This is phase 2. But even in phase 1, there will be 1 or 2 out of the 8 or more that some of them have both the technical news and the commercial sense. They're in the panel. So they're looking at this aspect of your proposal. What's the societal impact, the broader impact? Is a game changer, it's going to change something in the market, or the use of technology somehow. We're going to change it. So that's what they're looking at, the broader impact, so societal impact, right? And then obviously the commercial, because it's SBIR, we're looking to see, okay, these guys, if they get this done, will they come up with a solid phase 2 proposal, and they've already shown that they can surround themselves with the right people, both technical and commercial. They have the capacity, or they've done this before. Even if you haven't done this before, you understand and you have it in mind that, okay, these are the holes that we have to fill, and we will fill it. So that sense has to come through, because you're not there in the panel to speak for the proposal, right? It's got to be in the proposal. You have to convince just through words. All right, I think this is sort of mechanical aspect of it, that the process takes anywhere from 4 to 5 months, because anyway, in this last 1 year, 1.5 years, it's been even more work because of the pandemic. We've had a whole slew of almost more than 1,000 COVID-related proposals that we had to handle. So it's taking us a little bit more time. But normally it takes about 4 months. In 4 months, you'll know. You'll know whether it may not be complete, you may not have the money in hand, but you'll know whether you're being considered, seriously considered or not, in about 4 months. And the actual money in phase 1, you should see it normally, historically, in about 6 months. So keep this in mind. So it's not like a quick turnaround and, you know, you submit a proposal and then you just know the outcome next week, or it never happens. It's a few months. So keep that in mind. If you're in a fast-moving sector, or you believe that you don't have that kind of time, then just simply don't spend time writing that proposal. Seek out private equity or some other mechanism. Okay, that's it for me. If you need to contact me, that's my email and number. And I hope that was useful.
Great, thank you, Dr. Nair. We do have some questions coming in, and by all means, to attendees, please feel free to submit your questions in the question toolbar on the right-hand side of your screen. At this point, I'll pose some of the questions that have been presented so far. First question, okay. You mentioned university participation, especially in STTRs. Are community colleges and technical schools, do they qualify as a research institution? Or is that on
you mean for STTR proposals? I mean, I don't see why we cannot. I mean, we normally don't see too many of those STTR proposals with a partner from a technical school or a community college, but I don't see why not. As long as they have the capabilities, the STTR partner, it should be okay. I mean, it's not, as far as I know, there's no condition that it's got to be a university. Usually it is. But I mean, you can, whoever asked the question can email me saying that, okay, this is the situation, this is the setup. We're working or want to work with a technical school, or working with a community college, or a 2-year kind of program college. Is this okay? You just run it by me or one of my colleagues and get an answer before you actually spend time and effort on it, because it is unusual to have a STTR with a technical school or a 2-year or a community college and so on. But I don't see why not. It will be on the particular case by case.
Okay. Next question, are there any specific grant opportunities for women and or minorities within small tech businesses at NSF?
You mean within the SBIR program?
Either SBIR or outside of SBIR.
Oh yeah, in the rest of NSF, there are many programs that target minority institutions, and all kinds of programs within NSF, like this EPSCOR, for example. There are many programs and on the academic side, for sure, that there's a slew of programs. In fact, you should check it out, or whoever it is that asked the question, you send it to me and I'll direct you to the right people or the right programs for non-SBIR, okay? But for SBIR, we don't have any particular consideration for those kinds of things. Individually, the program director might have that in mind, but we don't have it in writing that, okay, we've got to set a certain percentage to do this or that. So it's a general program for everybody, but individually, program directors keep those things in mind. For example, there are states, there are states in the country that historically, we know that this is all documented, that get very little SBIR funding for whatever reason. So we try to encourage that. And when we find, let's say, I speak for myself, if I find a proposal coming from, say, Idaho or Montana, or some place that I normally don't see enough proposals, I pay particular attention to that.
Great. Next question, what do NSF and other agencies look for regarding phase 1 results in deciding whether to fund a phase 2?
Phase 1 results, yeah. So a lot of things happen when you have a phase 1 from NSF. It's not like, you get a phase 1 and then you get the money and then you disappear and we disappear. No, not at all. We're on top of them all the time, right? So we know, for instance, the program director, let's say, funded a bunch of phase 1s. First of all, they have to go through this beat the odds boot camp, every one of them, right? Some of them decide to go through ICO, and so they're testing the market all the time during phase 1. They're also asking a bunch of questions of the program director. The program director also is asking a bunch of questions of them. So we're in the loop. So we know what most of our grantees are doing, how they're doing, how much traction are they getting in the market or not at all, how much money are they trying to raise, and sometimes, of course, they've been successful. All that is being tracked, not through any ulterior moves, but just in conversations and email exchanges that we know how they're doing. So for the most part, we know in getting ready for the phase 2, how good a particular phase 1 grantee is, what good a shape is the company in to actually get phase 2. One other thing to remember is that you have from the start of the phase 1, you have 24 months to submit a phase 2. Of course, sometimes that's too long and you may be too late to the game if you just wait that long. But you do have 3 dates over a period of 24 months to submit. So we will advise the phase 1, hey, you're not ready, okay, you're not going anywhere, or this is not going anywhere. So those kinds of advice are being constantly exchanged with the grantees.
Okay. Next question. How far along does technology idea need to be before a pitch is produced or submitted?
Oh, can you please repeat that?
How far along does the technical idea need to be kind of mapped out before a pitch is submitted to NSF?
Ah, okay. Yeah, I mean, I think if you don't want to be kind of the pitch not be accepted, I think you got to put in quite a bit of work. You should know in your mind that this is a real need and how best to articulate that in a pitch. So that takes some time and some understanding of the technology and the market space. So if you want your pitch to be most likely to be approved, you got to have those elements in place in the pitch. So it should take some time and not just simply write up something in a page or two and hope for it to be approved. It doesn't happen that way. You got to spend some time. You have to have some understanding and some serious thinking has gone on in whatever it is that you're trying to research, piece of technology, then submit the pitch. So it's not some offhand kind of activity that, oh, well, just throw in a pitch and see what happens. I mean, you can do that, but most likely what happens is it won't be approved.
Does it make sense for a small business to connect with the program manager prior to submission of a pitch, just to make sure that the technology might be a good fit with NSF?
I mean, they can try, but the reality is that everybody's so busy. I mean, you wouldn't be able to catch a person to get him or her on the phone to spend time advising you on a pitch. So it's a matter of bandwidth and time. I mean, there are like hundreds coming in every day, right?
And this is really where, the SBDCs, David,
yeah.
Nicole, my
Right.
group, can come into play to assist with reviewing and strategizing about a pitch. So by all means.
Yeah, that's just the great point that you're making. Is this John?
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a great point, John, that you're making, because that's what you can help so much, right? These entities around the country that, hey, you're going to write a pitch? Okay, come, let's talk about it, right? And spend an hour or maybe less just to get a feel for whether this pitch is going anywhere, does it make any sense, is it worth the time, your time and the guy who's pitching. But it's very valuable time for them to kind of bounce it off somebody like you and these entities around the country, right? These SBDCs all over the place. That's a great resource. You should do that. Because to get to a program director for this purpose is very difficult. I mean, you can't, there's only so much time in the day, right? I mean, just to give you an example, like I have Right now, I have more than 50 phase 2 companies, more than 50, 50, right? And I got about 35, 40 or 50 phase 1s. So this really literally cannot find the time to advise people on pitches. I mean, I can write a quick email saying this or that, but on the phone, no, it takes time. I mean, these are the facts. I don't want to kind of be wishy-washy. This is what actually happened. There's no time for that.
Sure. Are there any examples of pitches available on the NSF website?
No, we don't do that.
Okay.
We don't do any examples of pitches or proposals or anything like that. No.
And I believe on the NSF website, you do have some success stories of companies that have been phase 1, phase through 2, and then through commercialization. So that those are always good for potential participants to review, to understand the process too.
Right. Yeah. Of course. Yeah. Those are good examples. They've succeeded. The ones that we put up on the website, they're all doing great. You know, there's companies that they're successful companies. So they can, they should look at those examples. There are, I don't know, I think, and we have a lot of webinars, right? We have webinars, we have pitch webinars too, right? I mean, if you look at the schedule, there'll be like half a dozen to a dozen of them, various things, not just pitches, but various things about the program, aspects of the program. They have webinars run by program directors. So you should catch one of those. The one about pitches. That's another idea.
Next question is, what kind of skills do you look for in the business team?
For a phase 1?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, most often we don't see a full team, right? Typically we see the research type of person and maybe one other person, right? Typically. That other person could be, in some instances, a business type. So it's not that it's a requirement. Like I mentioned in my remarks, that sometimes it's just a one-person company, and he or she happens most of the time to be very technical, right? But the intent is that they're aware, they're self-aware that, okay, I'm a technical person, I do need help. This is a business, this is a small business, right? A high-tech business. So I need to fill out my team. Maybe I cannot right now because I don't have the resources, but I intend to tap into this entity or that business entity around my area where I live. So that sense that they're serious, not just simply another vehicle to do more research. That sense has to come through.
And the last question that I'm seeing right now has to do with B Corps. Are B Corps eligible?
Oh, B Corp. I haven't seen many, but I don't know actually I don't know the answer to that. There's talk internally about being able to accept proposals from such entities, but I don't think I haven't seen any personally, a B Corp, but I have to check. I'm not able to answer that definitely. I mean, categorically. Whoever asked the question can please send that to me, and I'll find out.
Great.
There's been talk about such things, about reaching out. There's the fourth sector kinds of companies also. There are even non-profits that are trying to angle in. But of course, by law, it's not allowed. But I don't know about B Corp. Yeah.
Okay. Next question. For validation of customers, is a letter of support from those potential customers sufficient?
Yeah. Oh, that's actually more than normal to actually have a potential customer write up a decent enough letter of support. That's good for pre-phase one or phase one proposals. Yeah.
Okay.
That's gives. I mean, it sends the right signal to us, right? That these guys are at least talking to others. No, it's not all in their minds.
Right. Do you have a sense for what % of pitches are accepted?
Oh, yeah, we don't have enough data on that, but I'll tell you my own experience that first, this is, I think, maybe the 5th or 6th cycle of pitches that we've been exposed to, 5 or 6 cycles. And from my own experience, I can tell you in the first 2 or 3 cycles, I would have, let me see, yeah, I would have accepted about 70% or so. I would have accepted the pitches at that percentage level, about 70%. So 7 out of 10, I would have just said, yeah, okay, right? But then I also got experience, right? I also start getting experienced about pitches myself. So now I become more and more tighter. So the last cycle, it has come down to 1 and 2, so 50%. And so as we learn, as the program directors get used to it and learn, and they get some experience looking at pitches, they're also changing. So it's something it's ongoing. So I wouldn't be surprised if that number soon comes down to 1 and 3 are accepted pitches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next question, is an intent letter necessary for a phase one? I'm not sure if this intent letter has to do with the letter of intent by customers or letter of intent by contractors.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so instead of between a letter of support and a letter of intent is what the question is. Is it much stronger to have a letter of intent than simply a letter of support? Is that the question?
I think so.
Yeah, if it is, of course it is. It's kind of affirmation, right? If it's a letter of intent, it's way beyond letter of support. Because many letters of support, they're kind of wishy-washy or kind of watered down because they don't want to commit. It's just support, right? But a letter of intent is much stronger, much stronger. So if we can get that off for a phase one proposal, that's pretty good, I would say.
Okay. Next question has to do with kind of NSF's interest in medical or cancer detection technologies. Do medical technologies fit into NSF's guide?
Yeah, they do. They do all kinds of medical technologies, digital health, biological, biomedical, all that fits as long as no drug development or clinical trials are involved.
Okay, great. A number of guests have suggested that they would like to receive a copy of your slides. So feel free to send that to me and I will send those slides off to everybody today or tomorrow. So
yeah, I've already sent that to you, John.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, this, I think an hour or so before we started,
Okay.
I sent a copy. If you haven't got it, let me know.
Okay, so yeah, just for our attendees, I will send that slide deck off to everybody for people to have that in their toolbox.
Yeah, sure.
And also, I will. This session is being recorded, and I will. I'll send a link to that as well.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Another question popped up is cannabis technology-oriented things. Is that excluded from federal research, or is that allowed now?
And in the NSF SBIR program, we don't allow any of that.
Okay.
As of today.
Okay. All right. I don't see any other new questions coming in at this point. So with that, I'll be the first to say thank you very much for your time. It was great to see you again. We did this almost a year ago now, probably to the day.
Yeah. I checked. It was April 23rd last year. Yeah.
Okay, we were pretty close.
Yeah.
So, well, very good, very good. If any of our other hosts care to say a few last words, feel free to jump in at this point.
I just want to say thank you to Dr. Nair. I very much appreciate you doing this every year. It's terrific to see you, and yeah, thanks for doing it.
Happy to do it. That's part of my job.
Yeah, and thank you, also Dr. Nair, but also thank you, David Walker and Paul Bozzo, to partner with us. I think makes us stronger, and we actually cover the East and West Coast and everyone in between.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, this was a year ago we did this, and we actually are looking forward to doing this next year as well. I don't think in person, but that's
maybe, the pandemic days will be behind us, hopefully. Yeah, that was one of the attractions, is that both the East and West Coast are involved in this one, right? It's good to know that. Yeah, it's one of the attractions. Yeah, for us, because we also want to spread the word around and let people know what our thinking is and how we think about all this, right? We want people to know that. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, David. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Nicole. Thank you, Dr. Nair, especially for joining us this afternoon. Hope everybody has a great rest of the spring, and we look forward to working with you all again soon.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you. Take care.
All right.
Thanks, John.
Bye-bye.
Bye.